I was alone in the office Thursday and Friday. I will check to see what happened.
Big crowd today.
Two is better than zero. That works for me.
It's not on yet.
Oh, it's not on yet? Well, knock this out and get started.
You to start?
Yeah.
Hi, this is Brian. Welcome back to another Philosopher's Notes TV. Today, another great book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Atomic Habits, subtitle, Tiny Changes, Remarkable Results, subtitle 2, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. I'm a huge fan of the science of building habits, science of optimizing your life in general, but particularly habits. We've got classes on Willpower 101, Habits 101, Optimizing Algorithms 101. We've done a ton of notes on Charles Duhigg's Power of Habit, Twyla Tharp's The Creative Habits, Superhuman by Habit, Mini Habits, a bunch of different books on how to create habits. This one, in my opinion, is the best one. I don't often say that books are must-reads. This one comes as close as it's going to get to a must-read. Habits are essential to creating an optimized life, and this book is a phenomenal look at the science of what we know in terms of how to create effective habits and how to apply that science to our lives on a day-to-day basis. James Clear, very cool guy. He and I connected several months ago. I've been looking forward to this book. A bunch of people have asked me to do one of these episodes and the note on it. It's phenomenal. He's super popular. Millions of people visit jamesclear.com every month. He's got hundreds of thousands of newsletter subscribers. There's a reason why. He's a great writer. Really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it. Philosopher's Note. A bunch of my favorite big ideas. We've got 5 of them we're going to talk about today. We'll start at the top. Tiny equals mighty. Atomic habits. What are atomic habits? Well, think of the building blocks of our bodies, of the world. Atoms make up molecules which make up our existence. We need to go small, but then think about it in terms of a system. And he says that, kicks the book off with a story on Brailsford and how he turned around the British cycling team, which we've talked about a number of times. Marginal gains, tiny little improvements. And one of the things I loved was he actually quantified what happens when you aggregate and compound 1% gains, tiny little gains. If you get 1% better today, you think you can get 1% better today? I think you can get 1% better today. Now, if you get 1% better today, and then you get 1% better tomorrow, and you do that for 365 days in a row, how much better do you think you are at the end of this year, or that year, than you are today? Start at 1. How much better would you be at the end of that year? Answer is 37 times better, right? 37 times better just by getting 1% better. These tiny little gains wind up having mighty results. Now, I love that because we talk about our +1, +1, +1, optimize +1. Every day we send out another +1 to our members. Just get a little bit better today. But I hadn't done the math. I love the fact that that equals 37 times better after 1 year. And then I said, well, okay, what would happen after 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because James makes the point that to really see the benefits, you need to stretch it even longer horizon, 5, 10 years out. How much better would you be? So I busted open a Google spreadsheet and I ran the math. 1% better, 365, we're at 37 times better. Okay, well, how about another year? You get 1% better for another year after that first year. 37 times better after 1 year. How much better are you after 2? You're not twice as great, right? This is compounding we're talking about. So you don't go from 37 to 74 times better. You're 1,400 times better at the end of the second year. So then I do that and I'm like, that's pretty cool. What if you go out 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? After 5 years of just tiny little 1% gains, aggregated and compounded, how much better are you? 5 years, over 1,500 days, right? You're 76 million times better or something ridiculous like that. Then, how about 10 years? How about if you go all the way through to 10 years, 1% better, stack that up, right? No one's going to do it perfectly, right? You're going to have some slips, but you don't want to give up your compound gains, by the way, an important point. 10 years out, how much better are you? 1% at a time. You're almost a quadrillion times better. I literally broke the Google spreadsheet. It couldn't calculate the number of zeros by the time we arrived at day number 3,650. It's crazy. Tiny equals mighty. Keep that in mind. Another little fun distinction. So if you had a plane, an airplane, here's the arc, by the way. That's you getting better. It takes time, and then you get better. And then it just goes crazy up to the quadrillion, right? But he says you can imagine an airplane, another metaphor to bring the point home. Imagine an airplane in LAX, and it wants to get to, the pilots want to take it to New York City, right? But they point the nose just 3.5 degrees, 90 inches south, more south than it should be. Now those 90 inches at the beginning of that trip that's supposed to be from LA to New York City will wind up taking them to DC, Washington, DC. 90 inches leads to hundreds of miles when you give it a sufficient amount of time. So you can go up or you can go down. You're making a choice day in and day out, moment to moment to moment. You're either going forward or you're going down, right? And again, it's kind of fun to imagine. LAX, oh, I wanted to go to New York City. Oops, I wound up in DC, and it was a tiny little change in the beginning, compounded, led to a big change over an extended period of time. Keep that in mind. Tiny equals mighty. It's a long first big idea. The second one is the plateau of latent potential. This is a really cool idea as well. We're still in the first chapter, by the way. This book is ridiculously packed with big ideas, which makes it very difficult to distill into a 6-page PDF for the Philosopher's Note in one of these quick episodes. But he says, okay, look, compound interest is huge in finance, and it's the secret sauce in habit creation, but why don't more people do it? And the reason is there's a delay between the time that you start engaging in this behavior and when you see the results. So let's say that your results wind up being just crazy up here, right? Literally, the arc goes nuts over time. It will still extend, but it will go like that. Now, you might have expectations that look like that, right? So you want it crosses up here, right? So it crosses at some point around here. And there's a delay where you're not seeing, it's in this little slow part here. You're not seeing any gains for quite a while. And in that period of time, use whatever example you want. You change your diet, you don't see results tomorrow or the next day, although you might actually if you eliminate sugar and some stuff that's not working for you. Your energy might actually improve very quickly. But you do a push-up today, you're not going to see results tomorrow. You got to give it some time, right? Most people don't give it enough time. They get disillusioned during that plateau of latent potential, is what he calls it, which I think is a great phrase. There's latent potential building, and he uses a couple of metaphors to bring the point home. One of them is the stone cutter. So imagine a stone cutter. A stone cutter hits a rock again and again and again and again. 100 times they hit the rock, nothing happens. The 101st time they hit the rock, what happens? It cracks. Now, what was happening before then, right? All this latent potential was being built, and it took all of that effort for that last strike to actually create results. Well, it's the same thing with our habits. We've got to endure that period where we're not seeing the results we want, but know that we're building up this latent potential. Super powerful idea, worth keeping in mind. If you've ever bailed on a certain habit before you've seen results, which we all have, check in. The path of the master is to embrace the plateau and know that these things take time. Third big idea is identity. James presents a really cool integration of a number of different scientific models, and I love his perspective on identity. He says you can create outcome-based habits or identity-based habits. We don't have the space to go into detail on that, but the basic idea, he says, look, we're not looking to create one big life-hacking party. We're looking to become the best version of ourselves we possibly can. So before he talks about the what and the how of habit creation, he says we need to think about the who. Who do you aspire to be? When you imagine yourself at your absolute best, in general and specifically in your energy, your work, your love, to use the model we talk about in our big three, who are you? We want to let that identity drive our behavior, and then let the outcomes be a byproduct of that identity and the processes or the systems or the habits that we build, right? That's the secret sauce. He talks about Scott Adams and goals vis-a-vis systems, etc. Check out our notes on how to fail at almost everything and still win big for more on that. But the basic idea is identity. And then he ties it to the Latin etymology, which I thought was amazing. In ancient Latin, the word identity is actually formed. The word identity we use is formed from a couple of different words in Latin that basically mean, what does it mean? It means repeated beingness. Repeated beingness is what the word identity literally means. You repeatedly being a certain version of you creates your identity. Your habits literally create your sense of who you are. If you consistently do one thing, perhaps going this way, you're going to have a pretty good identity in that area. If you consistently do that, you're going to have a not so great identity. Now that's exciting because we can shift our identity and we can shift our habits, and the two work together to create the results we want to see in our lives. So again, who do you aspire to be? Act like that version of you now. Create the habits that a person who is that version of you would engage in on a consistent basis, and voila, you're going to find yourself experiencing more of the results you want in your life. All of which leads us to the heart of the book, the 4 laws of behavior change. This is where James extends Charles Duhigg's ideas. So 4 laws. Let's quickly look at them. 1, 2, 3, 4. First, we've got 4 aspects of the habit loop, as he describes it. 1, cue. 2, craving. 3, response. And then 4, reward. So these are the 4 areas of creating habits, right? And he says we need to boil these down into 4 laws of habit creation, which you can use to create habits or get rid of bad habits. Here's the quick look. First, your cue, which kind of kicks off you engaging in a habit, needs to be super obvious, right? So if I want to do deep work in the morning, right, my cue is I know exactly what I'm going to do. On my desk, I've got the book I'm going to work on, or the note I'm going to write, or whatever it is I'm going to do. The cue's right there. Boom, I know what I'm going to do. If I want to create a meditation practice, I put my meditation cushion in between my bed and the bathroom. So I know after I go to the bathroom, I'm meditating. You want to work out? Put your workout clothes in a very obvious place such that you have the cue that's there. We can talk about that for a while. I'll leave it at that for now. Then the craving needs to be, your cue needs to be attractive, and the habit needs to be attractive, right? So you need to think about the benefits that you're going to get from engaging in that activity, right? The habit that you want to create. He also talks about the fact that, this actually might be in the easy section, so I'll go here. The response needs to be easy, right? So your behavior, what you want to do, needs to be easy to engage in. He's got a bunch of great tips here. If you make it hard to do something, obviously you're less likely to build a habit. He says you got to start small, kind of like the mini habits idea we talked about. He's got a 2-minute rule. When you're creating a new habit, you got to be able to do it in 2 minutes. It can't be hard. So meditation, to use that as an example again, you're committed to meditating for 2 minutes. You trip over the obvious cue en route to the bathroom in the morning. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to meditate in the morning. Okay, let me remember why. Yeah, I'm going to have a calm mind. I'm going to get balance, have more equanimity in my life. All the research says it's awesome. I'm going to do it for 2 minutes, not 20 minutes or 2 hours, 2 minutes, right? And then you can build on that, but make it easy to get the habit going. That's our 3rd law. The 4th one is you need to make the reward satisfying. You need to feel good after you do it, right? You got to feel the rewards of doing it such that you want to do it again the next day. He gives a bunch of ideas on that as well. You can feel the calmness and equanimity after sitting in meditation, for example, or after training. You can connect it to another behavior. Perhaps you like tea or coffee in the morning. Awesome. Well, connect your meditation. Right after you meditate, you get your cup of coffee and tea. You connect it to another habit that makes you feel satisfied after you do it. Cue, craving, response, rewards. Law number 1, make it obvious, make it attractive is 2, easy and satisfying. Obviously, longer chat, check out the book, etc. But you can also apply the inverse of those laws to break bad habits. So if you want to break a bad habit, for example, maybe you want to stop eating junk food, well, okay, don't make it obvious. If you've got junk food laying around your house or your office, that's an obvious cue that's going to lead to behavior you don't want. You want to make it invisible, he says. Well, the best way to make junk food invisible is buy your willpower at the store, scientists say. Don't buy it. Don't bring it in your house. What do you do with food that's obvious? It's sitting on your counter or even in your pantry. You eat it in the moments when you least can afford to or want to, when you're tired and all this stuff, right? So make it invisible. Don't have it in your house. That's a great hack and law to engage, to break a bad habit. Now, you need to make your craving unattractive. You need to make a connection between your bad nutritional habits of eating all that sugar and refined junk food and realize that's making me feel a certain way that I don't want to feel. You got to make that craving unattractive after making it invisible, and then you got to make it hard to engage in the behavior. So rather than opening your pantry and getting your junk food, you got to drive to the grocery store. And you actually got to go through multiple steps to engage in that behavior. That's a great way to break a bad habit. And then you need to make it unsatisfying. Again, make the connection between how you feel the morning after you eat all that junk food or engage in whatever other behavior you don't enjoy, and when you do not. Super oversimplified look at his 4 laws. They're awesome. Again, why I recommend the book. Thoughtful analysis of some complex ideas to make it easy to apply to our lives. 5th idea for us is the Sorites paradox, which is awesome. This is how he concludes the book. So the Sorites paradox, Greek idea, the Greek paradox. Sorites in Greek means heap or pile, right? And they say, look, if someone has 10 coins, are they wealthy? Well, nah, 10 coins isn't going to make them wealthy. But let's say you give them another coin. Are they wealthy then? Well, no, they only have one more coin. But if you give them another coin, are they wealthy then? What about another coin and another coin and another coin? At some point, they will accumulate enough coins that they're wealthy. So you have to conclude that a single coin can make them wealthy, right? There's a little paradox there. One coin doesn't make them wealthy, but yet if you continue to aggregate and compound those coins, yeah, you get wealthy. Well, the same thing with habits. Is one habit going to change your life? Well, in theory, it actually could. But is one 1% gain going to change your life in huge, huge dynamic ways? No. And that's the whole point of the book is it's not about massive changes. It's about the tiny, tiny atomic habits that you can build. But we're not talking about 1% change. We're talking about 1,000 1% changes. When you aggregate and compound those over an extended period of time, you start talking about a quadrillion times increase in who you are. Right? You're a quadrillion times better if you actually run the math out, which again is absurd, right? But the point being, you have an infinite potential. The way to get there is via the very, very small atomic habits. The tiny equals mighty. Remember that. Remember our trip from LAX to New York City or DC. A few inches in the beginning leads to hundreds of miles at the end. Our plateau of latent potential. Give it time for your work to show up and give results, demonstrate results that you want to see. Identity, right? What a great etymology. Repeated beingness. Who you are repeatedly is who you are. So be the best version of you. That's like you to do the right thing consistently. Again, longer chat, we'll leave it at that. And then we had our 4 laws. Cue, craving, response, rewards. Obvious, attractive, easy, satisfying. Bake in the habits you want to create, the habits you want to break in that model. And then remember the Sorites paradox. Does one coin make you wealthy? Well, yes and no, right? But does one habit change your life? 1% increase, is that going to do it? Well, no and yes. If you aggregate and compound 1,000 of those and you're thinking throughout your day what marginal gain you can get, how can you get a little bit better today and a little bit better tomorrow, not giving away those gains, gets me fired up to imagine who you can be in that model. Hope you enjoyed. Here's to finding the power in your atomic habits. Make today another awesome day. See ya.
Anybody get anything from that? What do you guys think? Has anybody read the book? You've read the book Atomic Habits?
Yeah, a while ago.
What'd you think of it?
That's good.
Like it? I think I like to, it's really about creating habits to create disciplines for yourself to help you become better. And a lot of people will say, I'm undisciplined, and that's not true. We create the disciplines we create the disciplines in our lives from the things that we find important, right? Because I'm gonna assume everybody showered today, right? Like everybody showered, like we do that, it's a habit, that's a discipline. We brushed our teeth, we do our hair, like I do my hair every day, like religiously, like it's a thing. And so we create habits and disciplines around the things that are important to us. So you have to start looking at what's important to you. And that actually is like this whole big thing that comes out of this book, which I really like. So the tiny versus mighty talked about the atom, things start small to affect bigger things. The 1% better, I really like the 1% better conversation. Has anybody ever ran a marathon? You've ran a marathon. So did you train for the marathon? How did you train for the marathon?
I did 2017 and 18 really.
Wow.
And I was running further the first year and I did a half hour better the second year. Because I was more into triathlon that year. I was
Yeah.
pretty religious about HIIT class.
Yeah. But did you just start running a marathon? Like you never trained, you just got into the marathon and ran it? Or did you train a little bit beforehand? Yeah. So how did you train? Well, so that brings me to what I was inferring to is that if you want to run a marathon, there's an app, right? And the app, basically what the app does is it gets you to start running small distances. It's called something like there's one thing called 5K to couch to 5K or something like that. And basically all it says is like, go from your house to the first light pole. The next day, go to the second light pole, go to the third light pole. Do these small incremental increases in your running, and then in time, over a period of specific time, like I think on the app, you can actually shorten the time, lengthen the time, you can determine how long, and it'll aggressively get you there. But over a period of time, you will get to run a marathon, and it won't be as hard as you think it is. But it's the 1% gain every day. And I think one of the reasons that we struggle with the 1% gain and goals and all these different things is we have expectations around what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. And if we don't accomplish things by a certain time, we become disheartened. What if you took the 1% gain and you put it into your real estate business as one person per day? If you put one person per day into your database, so the average person knows about 300 people on average. Some of us know more, some of us know less. But if you have an average of 300 people, that is easily a six-figure income. If you were to take one person and put one new person into your database every day that you didn't know over a year period of time, you would have doubled your database, essentially doubling whatever your income potential is. And that's what I really like about that. The problem with this entire conversation is, why is it so hard to increase 1% in a day? Why is it so hard to create discipline? Why is it so hard to do these things? And I would be interested if anybody has an opinion, but my opinion is that it's really hard to do things on a daily basis with no return on investment, no reward. Like, I'm gonna do all this work today, I'm gonna do all this work tomorrow, and for the next 5 days, next week, next 10 days, and I'm not gonna get anything back for it. How do you keep doing something over that period of time? I know Tracy's probably busy because she's got a bunch of offers and different things that she's doing, but I think she's on here. My thing, not my thing, but Tracy always impresses me because she can do that. She can sit there and make calls every day with no expectation of getting something, but because she knows in time that she's going to get a deal. She's going to get something. Something will come of it over a period of time. So there's a time delay in everything that we want And when he was talking about weight loss, there was this, Simon Sinek has this talk where he says, you know, if you go to the gym, you jump in front of the mirror, no change. The next day you go to the gym, you jump back in front of the mirror, no change. But in time, you will have a change if you're consistent and you keep going no matter what, because there's a time delay. And it's like your volume of what you're doing versus the time you do it will affect whatever outcome you have. And the 1 person a day thing, you will get business if you keep doing that in a relatively short amount of time. Identity, goals. And so as far as us not hitting our goals, I cannot tell you how many times agents quit the business, and they quit the business because they've worked so hard over a period of time and they haven't gotten any results back. We have an agent here that has cold called for a year and hasn't gotten any business. And he literally signed up with Tammy. As soon as he signed up with Tammy, got a deal. Like, it happened. Like, is that magic? I don't think it's magic. But a lot of time, we don't hit our goals because we don't truly know what we want. So I would challenge everybody, have you written down your goals and what you want, and do you look at them and do you think about it every day? So I have a habit of writing down my goals twice a day. And so every day I am sitting there constantly looking at the things that I want. And this is the funny part, is that if you do that, you'll realize that your goals change, your priorities change, the things you want change. But if you keep looking at it, you can keep making those adjustments. But who do you want to be? I like that question that he put in there. Who do you want to be? So my question would be, if you write down your goals, who do you want to be and where do you want to be in 10 years? And then take that 10-year goal and back it all the way down to what would you need to do on a daily basis to actually get you to where you need to go. And what that happens is that's basically the 1%, 1% better on steroids. He was talking about 10 years and 5 years and 20 years. There's a 10 to 15 year cycle. There's a 10 to 15 year cycle that I've seen with billionaires. If you look at the most prominent billionaires that are out there right now, if you back up 10 to 15 years, they really didn't have much. You can do that with Jeff Bezos. The one that I think is probably most influential, that we don't even understand how influential they are, is Mr. Beast. Everybody knows who Mr. Beast is? No? Mr. Beast is the #1 YouTuber on the planet. He has more followers than everybody else. He's already been offered $1 billion for his YouTube channel. And all he does is work on creating the best video he can possibly create. And if you go back to when he first started, they are probably some of the worst videos I've ever seen on YouTube. And that was like 15 years ago. And all he did was every day obsessed over YouTube and tried to make the best video possible. And today, his channel is basically like a network TV show. But it took him about 15 years. The same with Jeff Bezos. We can actually go back to a bunch of billionaires and look at the time frame it took them. But it was them obsessing and getting better at what they did over a small period of time, and it took them about 15 years. It's a very, very, very interesting thing. I would love to have somebody write a book on something like this. The 4 laws, I'm not super, I didn't really connect with the 4 laws when he was talking about the 4 laws as far as getting what you want. I believe that if you have to have a desire for something so bad that you will actually stop doing whatever behavior it is you're doing now to do the other thing that you need to do. Like he referenced eating, like eating bad, eating crap, eating sugar, eating all this stuff. You can not buy things and not have things in your house, but if the desire to eat that crap is more than the desire to not, you're going to get in your car, get on the bus, walk down to the store, you're going to figure out how to get it. So what you have to do with your discipline and the 1% better and all that stuff that he's talking about is your desire to actually not eat that, or to become better, stronger, leaner, all those things has to be stronger than the other desire. And I see people, when you talk about that thing, I see people all the time that make the decision to not, they make the decision just to eat that stuff. And I have a trainer, and part of the reason that I've been on the journey that I've been on with weight loss is that I know that when I make a decision to do something, I do it. Whether it's to work out or whether it's to eat half a sheet cake in the kitchen that's there because it's cool and it was at Trader Joe's and I liked it and it was cheap, right? I'm like, my desire, like I know when I want something that I can go get it because I've done it. I've gone off and I've done amazingly hard, difficult things. So I know what I'm capable of doing. So what I had to do is like, my desire to have a piece of cake is actually pretty damn strong. So how do I counteract that? Well, I go hire a trainer that's a complete a-hole that I know that if I don't hit my goal, that I have to basically tell him that I was weak. I don't want to do that. I was in the military, my trainer was in the Marines. And my trainer is like, he's smaller than me, but like, listen, I don't want to call the guy and be like, listen, I had cake. Because he's gonna be like, oh, really? And then he's gonna say really bad words that I don't want to say in the video. So that's how I counteract my desire, is that I have an accountability partner that basically blows me up if I do not do what I'm supposed to do. So if you reference that back to real estate, that's what coaches are for. Right? It is so easy. So real estate, in my opinion, is super easy. But it's easy to do, but it's also way easier not to do. It's way easier not to have those conversations. It's way easier to make an excuse on why not to do things, why not to door knock, why not to call your people. It's super easy to do that. So how do you counteract that? Well, you have to have an accountability partner. You have to have an accountability partner as somebody that's going to help you. And that's what a coach does. So I have my coach, my trainer. I have my real estate coach that basically said, listen, you need 10 new people in your database this week. Tracy's like, well, how do I do that? And so like, we're literally making up things. Tracy came up with the idea of moms and mimosas to basically have a whole bunch of moms with kids and mimosas and everybody and create this event to get more people in our database, to reconnect with people in our database. And so you have to create ways to actually get the ball moving forward. But that's what a coach helps you with. A coach is there to make sure that you get done what you need done. And if you don't, you have to be held accountable. Very few people, in my opinion, I can tell you one person that I know personally that does not need accountability to get certain things done. And I'm not so sure he probably has a coach. Thoughts, questions, comments. How's everybody think about that?
If you haven't read the book, it's a great
Yeah.
read. I mean, in the workbook that goes with it, I mean, it's time consuming, but it really nails those quadrants.
Yeah.
And makes sense on the cues and the cravings, anything from personal habits to business habits. It's phenomenal. And if you sign up for James Clear's daily emails, or maybe it's weekly, I don't know, but those are really good. It's just a reminder how to keep on track, so.
I mean, I've heard everybody speak volumes about this book, and I would recommend everybody start reading. If you want to become 1% better and you're like, well, I don't know how to do that, start reading. And if you're like, I can't read, because I can't read books. I can, it's just really hard. So I do Audible. I'm in the car, honestly, like 3 hours a day, consistently. So I have 3 hours to basically make phone calls to, like our regional director was like, what do you do in the car for 3 hours? I'm like, I have podcasts, I have books, I have phone calls, I connect with people, I call, like, there's all these things that I have to do. And to be honest with you, there's so much, I never get it done in the 3 hours coming to and from work. So if you were to get Audible and do it 15 minutes a day, you'd be able to get through an 8-hour book in a month. Most books on like self-improvement and real estate and all those things, most of them are 4 to 5 hours. I just got one. I just downloaded a book today and it was 8 hours long. It's like, It had nothing to do with real estate. It has to do with raising my kids. We're not going to talk, that's a whole different class. But hold on, let's see, how long is,
You might be surprised, we might get a good turnout on that.
yeah, I know, right? I have Atomic Habits on my desk. I'm trying to see if I can have it right here to see what the, cause I got a book called Untangled for my daughter. So I wanted to read, cause I have 2 teenage daughters, I got Untangled. And so I was like, I wonder, do they have an Untangled for boys? They do. It's not called Untangled, it's called something else, but I was like, oh,
Have you ever read Queen Bees and Wannabes?
no.
That's.
That sounds a little scary. I don't know if I
No,
wanna read that.
that's the manual on TV.
Oh, really?
That's the leading expert on adolescent development.
So many to read. All right.
What's it called? Queen Bees and Wannabes.
5 hours. The Atomic Habits book is 5 hours on Audible. If you do 15 minutes a day, you can get through that in 2 weeks. So it's a really, really great book. I would definitely get everybody into it to start reading that, but that's the 1% per day, because you don't have to implement the entire book. Because like, I didn't agree with his 4 laws. Like, that's just my thing. You just need to get one little thing out of each book that you read. If you get one little thing out of each book you read, that's your 1% every day. And then you just think about it. Write down your goals every day. Goals by Brian Tracy is an amazing book as well. I actually got my ideas for writing goals from him originally. And in the book, if you read it, he says, I believe it's your top 10 goals. Write down your top 10 goals today. And then tomorrow, write down your top 10 goals without looking at the day before. First of all, I never realized how hard it was to come up with 10 goals. And I didn't realize how hard it was to remember what my goals were from the other day. What I did realize when I did start writing my goals down like that is that I realized which goals were important and which goals that I really, really wanted to do, because 5 out of the 10 goals I really, really wanted, because I couldn't remember the other 5. So they ended up changing. And what happens is it creates a funnel effect to where my goals started here, and then it refined the things that I absolutely knew that I wanted, that I basically thought about every day. And then I subscribed to Grant Cardone, which is writing down my goals twice a day. And so that to me is way easier because I'm looking at them more and it creates more focus. Thoughts, questions?
There's another book, Frank, if you're having trouble writing down your goals that I really like. It's by Brendan Burchard,
Uh-huh.
and it's called The High Performance Planner.
The high performance
Yeah,
plan.
it's really good. I literally probably had 10 or 15 because it goes in 90-day cycles. But it takes you through everything from your health to your family, to your spirituality, to your business, to friends. And it's just a really well-rounded, about your life in general. And then it has a series of AM prompting questions and allows you to put in your schedule. And then you go back at night and has another set of PM prompts that you could ask. And I felt it to be super, super helpful, super powerful, and just kind of reminding yourself, hey, you did an okay job today. Don't beat yourself up, because I think there's so many times where we immediately go to the negative.
Yep.
So this just kind of reminds you, okay, what did you do well?
Yeah.
It has a question in there that I love is, what is the one thing that you need to take care of today to help your life be better?
Yeah.
And that could be like a conversation with somebody, because you know how maybe you're nervous about having that conversation that
Yeah.
that needs to be done. Even if, like, sometimes with your kids, you're like, all right, I know this ain't gonna go well, but it needs to be done because it's absorbing all my headspace. I know that that's me. So, but it's called the High Performance Plan, where you can get it on Amazon. It comes in all kinds of different colors, if that's important to you. And it's like $22.
That's great advice. Does anybody ever have intuition, instincts? You ever think about like, man, I should probably talk to that person, or I haven't thought about that person in a while. I have that happen to me all the time, and it is like so spot on. I'll think about like an agent in the office. I'm like, man, I haven't talked to that person in a while. And then like, I could almost bet money on it. Something happens with that person. Something bad happens, or they go to another office, or they leave, or like something happens. And it happens with people that I, am with in my life too. So I think about something, and if it just randomly comes up, I'm like, you know what? I should probably go talk to that person, or I should probably do this, or I should probably do it. Whenever I follow that, like something good usually happens. And if I don't follow it, it's like, man, I should have done that. It happens to me all the time. If you ever have that happening to you, if you think about that, if you, and it started happening to me when I started talking to people in my database. Like this happened a long time ago. And I was like, oh yeah. And then that person would either reach out to me or I would see something that happened with that person. It's just a really weird thing that you should listen to your intuition. Not if like something happens, go, oh, that's a bad thing, I need to worry about that. You should never take an intuition as good or bad. You should always take an intuition as information that there's something you should probably look at differently or inspect. A lot of people take intuition, oh, that's a bad thing or that's a good thing. Bad and good is something that's been created just by us in general. It's a framework by society, right? And we could go down a rabbit hole with that, but I'd rather not. But bad and good is just something, it's a framework by society. But if you actually take a feeling that you have in your gut and then go, I need to inspect that and look at it a little bit more, it'll usually take you to a good place or help you with something in the future. So we got a good turnout on Zoom today, so thank you guys for coming. Is there anything else before we wrap this up? Going once? Going twice? All right, let's play the last video and get out of here and get some work done.
What gets you out of bed? What gets you off the couch? What gets you in the gym? It's not your alarm. It's not your parents. It's not your friends. It's you. The only one that can make it happen for you is you.
It's really hard to be led by your butt. But I'm not qualified. But I'm not good enough. But I'm not smart enough. But I didn't go to the right school. But I don't have enough money. But. If you're ever gonna step into your future, if you're ever gonna step into your destiny, you're gonna have to get over your butt.
And that's what a pity party is when you have an undisciplined mind and you meditate on the wrong thing over and over and over again. If you're going to throw a pity party, I give you 3 days and that's it. And after 3 days, you cut off your record player, your iPod, your MP3, and you come up with a plan.
Do I just sit there and settle? No, I don't. I say enough's enough, man, and I'm gonna make a change, and I'm gonna keep going until I get it. You chase something that you believe you deserve until you get it. And it doesn't matter what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many times you get fired. It doesn't matter how many people don't believe in you. You just go until you get it. That's the point. Are you tired yet? Some of you need to get tired. You need to be tired of what's going on in your life. Get tired of your habits. Get tired of the actions that you're putting in it every day. You gotta change, man, or nothing changes.
I woke up one day and stopped making excuses. I woke up one day and stopped playing the blame game. I woke up one day and looked at the man in the mirror and was like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Wake up, it's showtime, let's go. Get up, go to class, get up, do your homework.
You wake up earlier than people. You stay later than people. You stay humble. You work harder than anyone when no one's there. I guarantee someone that feels bad about themselves soon will label you as he's built different. He's built different should be your label because people feel bad about themselves.
Your life is exactly what you wanted because every day you've had choices to make. You're responsible and credible for every single choice. You've made the choices.
And what I need you to do for me is why are you here and then take ownership of why you're here.
So you control you.
This world ain't gonna give you what you deserve. This world gonna give you what you work for. I put that work in every single day. And when you wake up every single day and you put that work in, and yes, for some of us, it might be harder than others. Man, whatever, we do what it is we gotta do. Especially when we're desperate.
Winning's not loyal to you. It doesn't care about you. Winning doesn't care how sore you are. Winning doesn't care how much sleep you get. Winning doesn't care how hard you work at times. Winning requires all of you and then more, and it promises you nothing. It's a mastermind of creating fear and doubt in your mind. It causes setback after setback. So the question is about winning. Are you willing to sprint when the distance is unknown? And why chase this thing called winning? Because the only thing that's guaranteed in life, if you don't chase it, is losing.
Now is the time to grind. Now is the time to show the world that I was placed here for a purpose.
Work for it. Fight for it. It begins today, it continues tomorrow, and it never dies.
Thank you guys.